Hello everybody. We are talking about past perfect this week. What's the grammar structure? We use had and the third form of the verb, past participle. For example, I had seen the movie before, so I knew the ending. I guess they had sold out all the tickets even before the first game. Today was fun for us. We had never been outside Chicago. Had seen, had sold out, had been. So what's the meaning? When we tell a story, we often use the past perfect, what we are talking about, to talk about one event that happened before another. So kind of like double past. There is past, and then there is one more thing that's also past, but it's way before. For example, she died in a car accident on Madagascar. She had been there for 2 weeks. So it means she was there for 2 weeks before she died. So the positive structure is subject, had, and the third form, past participle. So it doesn't change according to the subject. We never say has or has. It always has for every subject. I had seen that before, or I'd seen that before. You had seen that before, or you'd seen that before. We had seen that before, we'd seen that before. They had seen that before, they'd seen that before. He had seen that before, he'd seen that before. She had seen that before, she'd seen that before. It had seen that before, it'd seen that before. But how do we understand that the short form had is different than would? They look the same. This can mean I had or I would. You had or you would. We had or we would. How do we understand? If the action is in the third form, it means this is short for had. If it's not, then it means it's short for would. The negative. Again, we have the subject, and then we have had not or hadn't, and the third form. So it doesn't matter if we use positive or negative sentences. It's always the third form, past participle of the verb. I hadn't or I had not told him anything. You hadn't or you had not told him anything. We hadn't or we had not told him anything. They hadn't or they had not told him anything. He hadn't or he had not told him anything. She hadn't or she had not told him anything. It hadn't or it had not told him anything. And the question forms. We are talking about yes-no questions. So we put the had in the beginning, and then we put the subject and the verb. Again, past participle, the third form. So in positive, negative, or questions, we always use had, and we always use the third form of the verb. Had I bought anything from that store before yesterday? Yes, I had. No, I hadn't. You see, there's yesterday. This is past, right? And this before yesterday, so it's double past, so it's past perfect. Had you bought anything from that store before yesterday? Yes, you had. No, you hadn't. Had we bought anything from that store before yesterday? Yes, we had. No, we hadn't. Had they bought anything from that store before yesterday? Yes, they had. No, they hadn't. Had he bought anything from that store before yesterday? Yes, he had. No, he hadn't. Had she bought anything from that store before yesterday? Yes, she had. No, she hadn't. Had it bought anything from that store before yesterday? Yes, it had. No, it hadn't. Now, pause the video here. Give yourself 10 minutes. Complete the sentences. Use the past perfect form of the verbs. Let's see the answers. When I tried to phone them, nobody answered. They had all gone swimming. He had changed so much that I almost didn't recognize him when I saw him last night. She couldn't phone me because she had lost her mobile. Somebody had stolen John's car, so he was very angry. Claire had no idea I was coming to see her. Her mom had forgotten to tell her. You arrived too late. They had already left. Her mother hadn't given her any money, so she couldn't buy the tickets. Had they already returned from their holiday when you got to their house? Now, we're going to see some pictures, and we're going to talk about them. See, there were two people running after a train, so they were late. They were late because when they got to the station, the train had already left. First, the train left, then they got to the station. She was very cold because she hadn't taken her coat. First, she left home without a coat, then she felt cold. So she was very cold because she hadn't taken her coat. The printer because so first he didn't turn on the printer, then the printer didn't work. So the printer didn't work because he hadn't turned it on. The fire engine after the fire. So first the fire went out, then the fire engine arrived, which means the fire engine arrived after the fire had gone out. They, before, and they, nervous. So first, they didn't fly before, then they were nervous. So they had never flown before, so they were nervous. I take a photo of the crocodile because it into the water. So first, the crocodile disappeared into the water, then I couldn't take the photo. So I couldn't take a photo of the crocodile because it had disappeared into the water. Most of the time, like 85–90% of the time, past perfect gives us the reason. Most of the time, not always. So for example, with this one, yes, it gives us the reason. Why couldn't I take a photo of the crocodile? I couldn't take a photo of the crocodile because it had disappeared into the water. Same thing happens here. Why were they nervous? Because they had never flown before. But this one doesn't give us any reason. So 90–85% of the time, not always. So she dinner, so she hungry. So first she had dinner, then she wasn't hungry. She had just had dinner, so she wasn't hungry. Now here we have two hads. This one, the first one is the auxiliary. Look at this. It had disappeared. She had blah blah blah. So this is the auxiliary. This shows us the tense. This one is the verb. We can simply change this with eat, and we would say she had just eaten dinner. or she had just finished dinner, so she wasn't hungry. The waiter after her because the bill. So first she didn't pay the bill, then the waiter ran after her, which means the waiter ran after her because she hadn't paid the bill. When he at the pool, he realized his swimsuit. First, he left home without a swimsuit, and then he arrived at the pool and he realized it. So, when he arrived at the pool, he realized he hadn't brought his swimsuit. She pay again because her ticket. First, she lost her ticket, then she had to pay again. So, she had to pay again because she had lost her ticket. They speak French because they at school. So first, they studied it at school, then they could speak French, which means they could speak French because they had studied it at school. Now, of course, we can say they could speak French because they studied it at school. It's not wrong. And most of the time, we can give the same meaning if we use before and after. But this is the correct grammar structure to use. Let's see the last one. She tired because she in the queue all night. So first, she was in the queue all night, then she was tired, which means she was tired, she was very tired because she had been in the queue all night. So the be form of past perfect is had been. Now, there are 14 sentences. They are half. Pause the video here, give yourself minimum 15 minutes, and complete the sentences. Let's see if you're ready. Number 1. Now, before we start, I want to tell you that there will be different answers. It's inevitable. But check your grammar structure. If your grammar is correct, and of course the meaning is correct, then there is no problem. If the grammar or the meaning is not correct, then you need to change it. So I couldn't find my bike because somebody had stolen it. I didn't want to go to the cinema because I had already seen the movie. I didn't recognize Jack at first because I hadn't seen him for 30 years. I couldn't catch the flight because I had left my passport at home. I didn't want to call Jane again. Now this is a clue for us, which means you called Jane before. So I didn't want to call Jane again because I had already rung her 3 times. I had already called her 3 times. I bought the book because my sister had recommended it. My sister had said, that's a good book, you should read it. My phone didn't work because I had forgotten to charge it. I couldn't go swimming because I had left my towel at home. Or just like the other guy, in the pictures, maybe you had forgotten your swimsuit at home. I had a big argument with my husband last night because he'd forgotten our wedding anniversary. I nearly cried when I came out of the hairdresser's because he'd cut my hair too short. I couldn't sleep because I'd drunk too much coffee. I failed the exam because I hadn't studied enough. I had problems reading the menu. This one, the I had problems, this is the past simple of have. So I had problems reading the menu because I hadn't brought my glasses. And the last one, I couldn't eat the fish because the chef hadn't cooked it enough, so it was raw, just like sushi. Now the homework part. You can check your homework by listening to me or by simply looking at the answers. When I arrived home from school yesterday, I found out that my bike wasn't there. Somebody had stolen it. I guess it was my own fault because I hadn't locked it. Apparently, the police arrested the gang of joyriders yesterday evening while they were breaking into a car. An eyewitness had seen the gang and had dialed 911. Now we can simply say dialed because we say had here, so we can use the had for both options. But it's, if you want to be sure, if you want to be, like obvious that the answer is past perfect, you can simply say had dialed. There is nothing wrong with that. Football hooligans caused chaos in the city center after last night's match. They attacked supporters of the rival team and damaged several public buildings. They said they were upset because their team had played badly. While I was walking through Stanford Park yesterday, a man robbed me. Before he jumped out at me, I had noticed him standing behind a tree, looking suspicious. Jane was queuing in the bank yesterday when suddenly a woman pulled out a gun and told everyone to lie on the ground. Jane was terrified because she hadn't seen a gun before. Luckily, the robbers didn't shoot anyone. On Saturday evening, John Kelly was amazed to come across an unknown man behind his garden shed. When John discovered him, the man was sleeping like a baby. The sleeping man was in fact Tim Barlow, one of the few good people whom John had met when he was in the army. That's all. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.